Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Friday, December 15th, 2023. Happy Friday. Today we are going to be talking about the New York State Supreme Court and a major development in the upcoming House elections in which the Democratic Party has been practically given the full green light to completely redraw New York's congressional maps ahead of the next elections. In a 4-3 decision, the New York Supreme Court, which a year ago ruled that the House maps drawn by Democrats were unconstitutional, has now reverted their decision following a new appointment from Governor Kathy Hochul, appointing a new chief judge who was on the siding case for Democrats in the last court case, thus following which she had another appointment into the New York Supreme Court that landed a Democratic advantage when it came down to the New York maps. Thus, the Democratic Party has scored a major victory in redistricting following a Republican victory earlier on this year back in September in the North Carolina maps, in which Republicans were given the green light at completely redrawing their maps. Now, the New York court has given the commission here, which is comprised of 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, full agency on redrawing the map. The unfortunate reality, though, for Republicans is that the Democrats need to side with them in order for this map to pass. Unfortunately, what we know from that is that likely Democrats will have a standoff, and in that case, the court conveniently allowed the New York State legislature to redraw the map if the independent commission ends up gridlocking more than twice. So this is the essential pathway forward for the Democratic Party to redraw the House map in New York in favor of a more Democratic map. Now, the reason behind this is quite simple. The Democratic Party was obliterated in the New York elections back in 2022. In 2020, Democrats controlled 19 out of the 27 seats in the New York House delegation. Then in 2022, there was a reduction in a seat following redistricting. Democrats only controlled 15, Republicans controlled 11. So to see Republicans go from 8 to 11 and Democrats down from 19 to 15 was quite significant and was a wake-up sign for many Democrats. But the reason for this happening wasn't super easy to see. The New York House map was actually meant to be much more lopsided in favor of the Democratic Party. That's why the New York map was initially struck down on the constitutional basis that gerrymandering was illegal according to New York law. And looking at the original map that was put forth, we can see here the Democrats had a much bigger advantage. The old map that was taking place in 2020 allowed Democrats a very solid majority in terms of the House delegation, but allowed Republicans a bare minimum of roughly 7 seats. The new map that Democrats put forth in 2022, initially that was struck down, gave Republicans just 4 seats out of the total number of 26 districts, with every single remaining district giving Democrats a viable opportunity at winning, and practically every other one reliably a Democratic seat. But when the New York Supreme Court said, no, you cannot do this back in 22, they allowed an independent commission to redraw the map, which they did, or a court-ordered map, rather, not an independent commission-drawn map, a court-ordered map that gave Democrats just, in fact, roughly the same amount of seats as they had in the last map, on par, but not enough to clear them the majority, and gave Republicans a bare minimum of 6, with the remaining competitive districts leaning in favor in some cases of Republicans, but still Democrats because they saw significant underperformances, lost many of those seats. So now that Democrats have the ability to redraw the map, we are likely expecting to see a map similar to the one that they put forth prior to the original map being struck down. Again, I briefly touched on this in the beginning of the video, but the reason why Democrats are more confident they can redraw a gerrymander now versus where they were a year ago is because Kathy Hochul, the incumbent Democratic governor, was able to appoint a new chief judge, one that would actually side with Democrats on this issue. This issue actually stems way further back into a little bit of political history here because Governor Kathy Hochul was initially a U.S. representative who was pushed out of her House seat because of gerrymandering. So this is her way, in some instances, people see, of getting back at Republicans who initially ended her congressional career because of the redistricting process. What many people refer to as the Hochulmander, a gerrymander that would be put forth by the governor's office through the state legislative process via proxy. Essentially here, what Democrats are hoping to do is take a map like this and in fact make it more conservative because more Democrat, because even if you apply the gerrymandered House map in 2022, Republicans have narrow victories but still pick up many seats from Democrats. So what they're looking to do is in fact take it a step further. And so what it means by taking it a step further is doing something similar to what North Carolina did in their congressional maps. For a bit of context, the North Carolina delegation right now is split 7-7. It's a pretty fair map. Democrats only won 48% of the vote in the last election. Republicans won 52%. So it's roughly an even split in the perfect way possible. And that's because this map was fairly drawn. And what I mean by fairly drawn is that it was done by an independent commission. The the North Carolina Supreme Court, voted down a map, said this was unconstitutional. This cannot be allowed to stay. Republicans won back the majority on the North Carolina Supreme Court following the midterm elections, very similar to what happened in New York. Just on the flip side, from blue to red, they struck down the North Carolina map, citing any type of discrepancy. This is objectively a fairer map, and the map that New York currently has is objectively the fairer map. The question is now partisan Supreme Court control. Democrats control New York, Republicans control North Carolina. So what happened in North Carolina is that a 7-7 map has now been turned into a 3-11 map. Republicans getting 11 seats and Democrats getting 3. And so what this map here, this is not the exact map that has been put forth, but a map that replicates what Republicans tried to do. This is the one that was struck down. What you found here, or was being proposed, and they knew it would be struck down. But what was being proposed here was taking, again, a 7-7 possibility map, an opportunity and equal opportunity map for both parties, and turned it into a Republican stronghold. A number of safe seats. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 safe Republican seats, 2 lean Republican seats, 1 toss-up seat, and 3 safe Democratic seats. So imagine this in a red wave year or a normal year, quite frankly, in a map where they are drawing what is expected to be an 11-3 map. Republicans win 11 seats and Democrats win 3. And so that takes away about 4 seats the Democrats need that are crucial. And so Democrats are trying to combat that via New York. And so, like I said, Democrats are trying to take what Republicans did in North Carolina. I'm sorry that I keep messing up the 2 states in North Carolina, and apply that to New York and take it even a step further than their initial idea of a gerrymander. Right. And so that's what they tried to do. In fact, what a better representation of this is that this was actually the remedial plan by the New York Democratic Party. I want to see if I can find the initial plan right here. This is what we might see in the upcoming map. 4 safe Republican seats down to just 4 instead of the 11 the Republicans currently hold. And that on top of turning every single lean seat here, toss-up seat, into a Democrat advantage seat. Taking all of the competitive seats, and I say competitive in air quotes, you can't see me right now, but all the lean Democratic seats, Democrat plus 8, Democrat plus 10, Democrat plus 6, Democrat plus 12, Democrat plus 13. Taking them and making them very lopsided in favor of the Democratic Party. Then taking Republicans and drawing them into seats together, right? Drawing people in to compete against one another. And so when you look at the difference, it is quite significant. So I turn to Dave Wasserman here from Redistrict because he had a very good example of what could be a worst case scenario for the GOP, in which it would essentially take, let's just go ahead and populate this image in another tab. What it would essentially do is compact all the Republicans, take a lot of the Long Island and surrounding suburb area Republicans, and draw them into Biden plus 12 districts at a minimum, and take every single remaining Republican seat and compact it into just 4 seats statewide. Every single district, New York 11th being the closest one, being Biden plus 12. And so that's where, or the competitive seats, and taking every single one and making them Biden plus 12. And that is a problem, fundamentally, for Republicans for very obvious reasons. Because in a presidential election year like 2024, outrunning the presidential candidate by over 12 points will be a very difficult task. It's not saying that it can't be done. For example, the now expelled Congressman George Santos won in his district in New York's 3rd by a margin of roughly 8 percentage points. Biden won here by 10 in 2020. So taking the exact district boundaries and seeing that you can have Biden winning by double digits and Republicans winning it by nearly double digits tells you that Democrats can lose these Biden plus 12 districts. But it makes it a lot less likely when you're running alongside the president, especially if New York reverts back to being a Biden plus 27 state instead of a Kathy Hochul plus 5% state. Republicans are going to face that huge fundamental issue where Democrats are going to have somebody at the top of the ticket who has won in the state of New York by margins that other statewide Democrats have not been able to win by. Biden won here by 23 in the last governor's race. Kathy Hochul won. Let's see if we can find the 2022 results by just 6.4%. So again, fundamental differences, huge changes, huge advantages for Democrats with this new map. And so what this means for the overall composition And there will be a video on this in the future compiling all of the recent victories for Democrats and Republicans in redistricting that overall net favors the Democratic Party because the majority presently is so slim. In the last election, Republicans won 222 seats. Democrats won just 213. In a very, very interesting flip, similar to 2020 versus 2016 in the presidential, Republicans actually had 213 seats in the last House race besides this one, and Democrats had 222. So in a near identical flip, around 10 seats were exchanged, but 5 seats make all the difference. And so when Democrats are picking up victories like in Alabama, where now they have a new congressional seat being added, South Carolina being in conversation, Florida being in conversation, Louisiana being in conversation for having to redraw their maps. You are going to see Louisiana redraw. Alabama has already redrawn, and potentially some other states. That counteracts the North Carolina losses that Democrats are suffering, with 4 seats expected to be vanquished entirely in the new North Carolina map. That allows New York to serve at a middle point where neither seats are gained or lost on the overall net national. And Democrats are going to go more extreme. And so they're going to take New York and give Democrats, Republicans down from 11 to 4, give them potentially 7 seats. And I don't think it will be perfectly 7. I think it's possible that Republicans still win a few of them. But all Democrats need is 5 to completely change the House majority. And that's not to say that other House seats won't change, that other House districts might not have sudden revelations. But right now, presently speaking, Democrats have maintained victories in redistricting in New Mexico, with their gerrymander being upheld by the state Supreme Court. Alabama, Louisiana, victories for Democrats there when it comes down to redrawing the maps. In Kansas, the maps are being stayed. Illinois, there is no challenge here to the gerrymander because it isn't written in to the state's constitution, right? You have a lot of these districts here that Republicans at one point thought they might be able to make major advantages is. They're not. Ohio's maps are here to stay too, which is actually good news for Democrats, even though it is an egregious gerrymander. But Democrats did a lot better than Republicans expected. The initial map that was drawn in Ohio for 2022 was only supposed to give Democrats 3 seats. Instead, it gave them 5. And the Ohio Supreme Court is unwilling to take a further look at it, even though it has changed in terms of partisan control. Even though it was technically Republican held, Republicans now have a complete, pro-Republican justice there, but isn't willing to take a step further and gerrymander and crack it even more, even though Republicans want to. So it's Republican losses outside of North Carolina, Democratic victories in the House of Representatives, and now New York seems to be this final blow to the GOP's strong chances at maintaining the House majority. Because I honestly think there is a reality in which Republicans win the presidency, Donald Trump wins the presidency, but the Democrats win control of the House. It seems very random, it seems very weird, but historically, Democrats have always gained in presidential elections, with the exception of 2020 and 2004, so weird fluke elections following major advantages for the GOP. But beyond that, even 2016, Democrats picked up just a measly 6 seats, but that would be enough to sway the House majority in favor of Democrats. And again, redistricting can build a different story. It's not the same exact House map as what we saw in 2020. Those New York seats could very well be drawn in the way that Dave Wasserman is saying, and given the composition of the court, it's very possible that they do this. And they take these Trump +1 districts and turn them into Biden +12 at a minimum. Again, compacting all those Republicans into 4 seats would be a very strong move for Democrats. I'm not going to speak on, whether they should or shouldn't from a moral standpoint, because that's not what this is. This is to talk about it from an electability standpoint, from what would be to the benefit of the Democratic Party, and that is this. In the same way North Carolina drew their map for Republicans, New York will draw theirs for Democrats. And so right now, with this court ruling, Democrats, I think, are the favorite to win back control of the House of Representatives. The House map is conducive to a Democratic victory because of how close and narrow that it is. And so Republicans being roughly a 5-seat advantage past where they need to be is not the strongest point going into elections where Democrats are making consistent gains and making consistent victories when it comes down to their congressional maps. So all around, I think our major takeaway from this New York map is that Democrats are now even further a step more towards having this in the advantage. It also doesn't help that the governing majority for Republicans moving forward will be 2 seats instead. Recently announced that Kevin McCarthy will be leaving Congress, not just retiring, but in fact will resign from his seat at the end of this year, giving Republicans just 2 seats in terms of the majority here. It'll go down from 220 over 218. So Democrats will still be hovering around 213, 212, depending on vacancies there. but that would still give Republicans the governing advantage over 218 of just 2 seats. So that is very, very difficult for Republicans to reconcile and recognize, and it does not give them any type of mandate or any type of strong advantage over Democrats to make any major headway in the House of Representatives. In fact, from here on outward, Speaker Mike Johnson, the Republican Party, are lame ducks when it comes down to the House of Representatives, and Democrats very well are in a good position for 2024, even if they aren't necessarily in the presidential, which we will talk about in a future video. But as of right now, this new New York Supreme Court case is very good news for Democrats, good news for them all around the country, and they really need it at this point in time. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2024 House election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.